former Republican Congressman David Jolly. Meredith McGraw is also with us. She's a senior political correspondent for Politico. And Roland Martin of the Roland Martin Unfiltered Digital Show is also here. Welcome to you all. Okay, I want to jump right into it. I want you all to hear this sound from Capitol Police Officer Harry Dunn, who defended the Capitol on January 6th.
This would go back a little bit to your point about Mike Pence doing his job. We signed up for it. We signed up. We know that there's an opportunity that something bad could happen. We know that there's an opportunity when nobody wants it to happen. So when people say you did your job on January 6th, that's what we did. So when Mike Pence is being called this hero, that's what he did his job.
Roland, your thoughts on the lauding of Mike Pence as a hero for his actions on January 6th?
Well, it's sort of like Chris Rock said when folks like, I take care of my kids. He said, you're supposed to take care of your kids. And so this whole deal of praising Mike Pence for ignoring Donald Trump, that's what you were supposed to do. Do your job. But let's also remember, he did not call the FBI when they came in with this coup plan. He called Dan Quayle to get his advice on it. And so Mike Pence could have actually done more. What we have to understand here is that this goes beyond Donald Trump, Simone. This is an entire apparatus. The Republican Party, from the top to the bottom, that was involved in this. The entire conservative movement. You're talking about lawyers, think tanks, and others. This is what coups are all about. This is a desperate attempt to hold onto power, and Democrats and progressives better stop being so nice and so academic and realize these folks are not done. They will continue to try to seize power by any means necessary.
You know, Meredith, Roland makes an important point. It's a point that I've made. The threat to democracy is ongoing here. The former president of the United States, Donald Trump, has not stopped talking about Mike Pence, pressuring him, talking about him in a negative way. You have some new reporting on this. Tell us more.
Well, I just came back this morning from Nashville, where I was covering the Faith and Freedom Coalition convention there. This is an annual gathering of conservative evangelical Christians who are politically involved, and it often attracts 2024 presidential hopefuls, big headline Republican names. And this year, former President Donald Trump was the keynote speaker. And in his speech, he continued to talk about the 2020 election, and he attacked Vice President Mike Pence, who he said did not have the courage to act that day, and really spent a good portion of his speech there to what in the past really would have been a sympathetic crowd for Pence. He spent it attacking Pence and talking about that day. And meanwhile, Pence declined an invitation to show there. I think from what you guys were talking about, there are a lot of people who are asking for Pence to speak out more. We heard from some of his advisors in the January 6th hearings, but Pence is not going to be testifying. And in fact, when he's been out and made public appearances, he's really shied away from talking about all of that. He has said that he did his constitutional duty, but for the most part, is really focused on the 2022 midterms. And I think for some people, it's been disappointing that he hasn't gone after Trump more.
I mean, I will reserve my thoughts. Y'all heard my comments at the top of the show. The committee also talked about this week.
No guts.
No guts. I mean, it is appalling because this was, in fact, an attack on our democracy. It wasn't an attack on one political party. The committee this week, though, they also revealed in some emails from John Eastman to Rudy Giuliani, and Eastman is demanding to be on Trump's pardon list. Now, Congressman, as you know, these hearings are not a court of law, but they are definitely a part of the court of public opinion. So I'm wondering if you can weigh in here on how a Republican congressperson goes about defending Donald Trump's reliance on Eastman to overturn the election when we now know he didn't even believe what he was selling the American people.
Because much like Mike Pence, the whole lot of them are guilty. All of them are. They're all willing to go along with this very dangerous person in leadership of the party and for 4 years in leadership of the country for their own interests, their own elevation, their own political advancement, whatever it might be. And I think that's the thread here from Mike Pence to members of Congress to today Kevin McCarthy and Mitch McConnell. You could argue even Paul Ryan when he was Speaker of the House, which is they each made this certain Faustian bargain, a deal with the devil, if you will, that they were willing to accept a dangerous leader as long as they got something for it. And so Mike Pence should not be lauded for simply doing his job. The heroes that day were the men and women in wearing the blue uniforms and the law enforcement officers who were trying to protect the modern cradle of democracy, and instead recognize that Mike Pence knew a dangerous man was in office for 4 years and did nothing about it. Same is true for Kevin McCarthy and Mitch McConnell and Paul Ryan and every Republican member of Congress right now. They knew there was a dangerous member of Congress, a dangerous president in office for 4 years, and they did nothing about it. That is their very sad and indicting legacy.
We're going to get into more of this after the break because
Simone.
Go ahead, Roland. Go ahead. I got a little time. Come on now. Let's talk about it. Okay. We're going to get into it after the break, but you want to talk about Mike Pence and these Republicans. Go ahead.
Ooh.
Come on.
No, I want to talk about these fake Christians. I want to talk about these fake conservative Christians, these fake conservative white Christians. I'm here at the Poor People's Campaign with their Moral Assembly. And how are you, Ralph Reed, with a Faith and Freedom Coalition, and you allow a man to lie in front of you? Is that a Christian principle? Is that a principle of Jesus? Did the poor even come up at that gathering there? This is the fundamental problem that we have in this country, where we have white conservative evangelicals. And look, my wife is an ordained minister. I'm a Christian. And these folks will accept lies. And so they are hypocritical Christians. And I'm sick and tired of them providing a moral perspective when they will knowingly accept immorality from an immoral leader like Donald Trump and the rest of them. They are hypocrites, and they should be called on it. And they are fake Christians as far as I'm concerned.